If you can hear something in the background while I'm doing this, someone's listening to the TV upstairs, and the ceiling is like 3 inches thick, so you can hear everything up there. So that's what that is. Anyway, so earlier today, I got to thinking about something. I was sweeping the floor, just letting my mind wander, which is not usually a good idea. But this time I started thinking about, baby boomers, all right? For the record, I'm not one of those people who are blaming everything in the world on baby boomers. A lot of things, maybe, but not everything, all right? My generation's definitely part of the blame here, okay? Gen Z's the generation of influencers, all right? So can't throw all the credit to the baby boomers on that one. But anyway, I got to thinking about the baby boomers, and it's all in the kind of the what's the word, the stereotype, I guess, that your average baby boomer is like this conservative, entitled type of person who values money and doesn't care about the younger generation. And I don't know how accurate that is. I'm certain not all of the baby boomers are like that, but like my family personally, we don't really have baby boomers in it. Like, kind of just goes from silent generation to Gen X. I got a few relatives who are like at the very tail end of the baby boomers, like late or early 60s. But like the stereotype though is that the baby boomers are these like conservative, money valuing people who are, you know, probably Trump supporters and, only care about, themselves and money and all that. And again, not all of them, I'm sure, but the stereotype is that. And it got it got me to thinking though, because back in the day, okay, the 60s, the 70s, this was the generation of people that were the hippies, okay? Like the baby boomers were the hippies, they were the Vietnam people, doing all the drugs, breaking all the rules, the free the nipple thing or whatever that was called, the Million Man March and civil rights, all that innovative stuff, all the things that kind of changed how the US was, all this really progressive stuff back then, all right? Protesting against the government, all this kind of stuff back in the day. Really the anti establishment, fight the man kind of attitude. And those were all pretty much like the baby boomers, all right? So, how exactly did the evolution go from these establishment fighting, anti big government, anti corporation people evolve into the current day where the stereotype is now of the people who only value the money and who are selling all their assets to corporations and who voted into office all of these higher up people who are in cahoots with Trump, basically. I mean, Trump is basically the amalgamation of like corporate America and the establishment, all right? The very antithesis of what I think the hippies were trying to go for when they were lucid. The hippies did a lot of drugs. I'm sure most of the hippies don't even remember the 60s if you ask them. I don't know. But how do you get that evolution from all of these people fighting the establishment to electing the establishment and, turning into that? And I have no idea. I was gonna do like when I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, yeah, I could make a video here about that. So, and I was gonna do a bunch of research into it, look at some graphs, do a bunch of shit, and then I just sort of didn't because I didn't feel like it, and I still don't. So, the question's gonna just be a mystery unless someone else answers it. My personal thought here is that Reagan was partly to blame. Um, because he was a really popular president and a Republican and a conservative. Whether or not he was a good president, I don't care. That's not the point here. But he was really popular at the time. You know, that's about the 80s were kind of like when the baby boomers were, you know, would have been like in their 30s, 40s or so. So they would have been getting really into adulthood proper, getting into jobs and career paths and stuff. And so maybe that kind of shaped how they went. They went from the like ultra liberal hippies and, uh, all that, and went through the like Reagan conversion machine, okay, and then turned into like the conservative pro Trump people. I don't know. And again, this is just going off the stereotypes here. And so obviously not all of them. Again, they're not, the baby boomers aren't just some like hive mind. They're not like the Borg here where they're all just having the same thoughts all in one. But I don't know. I was gonna do some research and look into it, but honestly, I really just don't give a shit. I just thought it was kind of interesting. So, yeah, something to think about, I guess.